Hi, my name is Dave Reske, CEO of Now Speed Marketing, and welcome to this edition of Marketing in the Now, where we focus on uncovering the myths of marketing and leadership with some of the world's most interesting people. And my guest today is David Edelman, former CMO of Aetna, which is now part of CVS Health. He's been repeatedly recognized by Forbes as one of the most influential CMOs in the world, and by Adweek as one of the top 20 marketing and technology executives. His work has attracted over 1 million followers to his LinkedIn blog, and I'm thrilled, David, that you're on the podcast today. So thank you very much for joining the show.
Oh, terrific to be here, David. Looking forward to a good chat.
Yeah, so currently you teach marketing at Harvard Business School. You advise top executives on AI and personalization, and you have a book coming out next month, what I'm thrilled to talk about, called Personalized Customer Strategy in the Age of AI, published by Harvard Business Press. So yes, thrilled to talk about all of that. What interested you in the idea of AI in the first place? You have a deep background in marketing and strategy, and how has AI kind of come into your thinking in this field?
Yeah, sure. So it actually goes back to 1989, uh, before the internet. Tells you how old I am. Was a young consultant at the Boston Consulting Group, had 3 clients who were all starting to ask, what can we do with customer information that we're collecting for loyalty programs, for advertising? And out of that came a concept that I called segment of one marketing. Wrote an article about it, got a lot of buzz, and it basically became the rails for my career. Then gradually the internet happened, new database management capabilities, content management capabilities. And in the roles that I had over time at BCG, then at Digitas, McKinsey, and then you mentioned Aetna as CMO, I've always been focused on how to move strategically the position of your brand using customer information in faster, smarter, more value generating ways. Some of it's about the tactics of just doing good digital marketing, but I've always tried to elevate it to, are there more interesting ways we can create value for our clients, our customers? And so with AI, a lot of the compromises that companies faced in being more personalized could get broken because everyone is always concerned about economies of scale, and the whole concept of personalization breaks economies of scale. And so, especially if you're a service company trying to have standard ways that you get things out the door, and so you need capabilities to be able to use information and then generate things flexibly. And so AI unlocks personalization at scale. And I like to think that personalization is how you get growth from AI. Everyone's talking about automation and efficiencies and people losing jobs, but really personalization is how you can get more business from customers. I mean, think about right now, companies you're now giving more and more business to because of the way they use information about you. Spotify, Uber, Netflix, I mean, even Google, that's been away for a while. Uh, you're doing business with them because they're using your information to help you. Now, you may have questions about the privacy and the security of that data, but often it's overcome by the value that you're getting. And there's more and more companies now who are bringing those capabilities to bear, who are not just digital natives. And so I wanted to understand the full range of AI capabilities. I talk about those in the book and how different kinds of AI enable us to deliver personalization.
Yeah, so many powerful ideas in that introduction that you shared. But I want to just start at the beginning in this idea of personalization. So when you talk about personalization, my mind conjures up some of the examples that you shared, maybe Spotify. It's kind of giving me personalized music examples. But if you think about, larger businesses like you work for Aetna, so a large organization, or maybe other consumer products companies or companies even like IBM, how do these companies think about personalization? Is it personalized in marketing content? Is it personalized in service content? Is it service delivery? Is it enabling employees? There's it strikes me that there's so many ways to think about personalization. How do you think about it? And what are the nuances around personalization?
Yeah, it could be all of those. What we're not focusing on is the physical tailoring of products, like ordering a couch to your specifications. That's been around for a while. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about using customer information to create a new kind of experience. So let me give you an example, which isn't a big company, but it's in a very interesting, mundane area. So a few years ago, the town I was living in at the time, Lexington, Massachusetts, offered an incentive for people to get solar panels on their homes. So you could get a rebate on some of your property taxes. And that unleashed a mountain of marketing. Everyone wanted to sell us solar panels, 40% off this, blah, blah, blah. And it was hard to make sense of it. The economics are actually not straightforward because of tax implications, selling back your energy. One piece of mail, though, actual physical piece of mail stood out, said Edelman household at our address. We've done the math. We believe you can save over 20% per year on your annual energy costs by buying solar panels from Sungevity. There's a personalized URL in this envelope that will explain it to you. Open up the envelope. There is a URL with our address on it. I type it in, and boom, I get an image of my house through Google Earth with solar panels superimposed on the roof. Then along the side of it is a calculation of how much energy those panels will generate based on my longitude and latitude, east-west orientation, and the way the solar panels fit on my roof. So that tells how much energy the panels can generate. Then they went to Zillow, got the square footage of my home, and used that to estimate how much energy over the course of a year we would use up. So they had the numerator, they had the denominator, and it came to 21.3%.
Hmm.
And I was impressed that that was very personalized and it made it simple. Then it said, click here to learn more. I click and I'm immediately in a video call with a young salesperson, and he's got all the information about me right there. He says, greets me. He sees I'm Mr. Edelman. Says, Mr. Edelman, I'm delighted to explain to you how you can save over 20% through Sungevity. And he immediately starts going through the different leasing options along the side of his image. And then he sends me email addresses of two neighbors who have done this already, whom I didn't know who they were, but I contacted them. It sounded good. And I did it. I got the panels and I didn't even look at a competitor. The economics made sense. They made it simple. And then everything from that point on was managed through an app. The scheduling, the tracking of the energy. When a squirrel ate one of our wires, I got alerted, and then they came and we scheduled when they could come to fix it. All of that. That's personalization.
That's a
That's a very different thing than just putting my name in on a pitch.
Yeah, and it's personalization at scale through automation. Contrast that with my solar
Yep.
experience. I got a referral from somebody to talk to a sales rep. He said, "We're busy now. We'll talk to you in 3 months. We're just too busy." So 3 months go by. We have the appointment. He takes all my data. It takes hours. Then you have to go get all my bills, and then a few weeks later, he puts together a proposal, and I finally say, "What was this about again? I don't even remember." Right? So that's so there's
Yeah.
the speed and the customization. You're talking about marketing, you're talking about sales, you're talking about communication. It's incredibly powerful. So is AI, the answer to that? So what's the role of AI? A lot of
Well,
that is
let's
not a lot of no, some of that is not AI. Some of that is good old-fashioned computer science, right? Putting databases together. So what's the role? What's new now in the role of AI that's enabling that to maybe to an even further degree in your experience and research?
Yeah, actually, if we take that, we can actually break that down into another. Because I called Sungevity, I talked to their chief because I was curious. So
Yeah.
I learned more about what they were doing. So there's actually a lot of different ways AI capabilities were playing into this in the early days of it. So one is AI can write code. And one of the codes that AI can write is how to integrate databases.
Hmm.
So it can look at one database, understand the schema, look at a second database, understand the schema, and write the code to bring that data together. So bring the data together from Google Earth feed, from a Zillow feed, plus all the other data, the tax implicate, the data about the taxes in my local area, data on the product specifications about the solar panels. So they did that. They used AI to create an integrated database. Then AI, separate AI, starts going through analytically because they did that for the whole neighborhood. They did that for everyone in Lexington. Then they use another AI to start spotting patterns and figuring out where's a reasonable cutoff point for where somebody could save sufficiently and how many people would qualify. And then who are those people? So 20% was the cutoff. So they used that to find every household that could save 20%. Then the actual rendering of the image and all of that is coming through an AI of generating that. So there's just a number of different AI tools that were used. So not just generative AI, but also machine learning and analytic capabilities, being able to spot anomalies and do predictive modeling of who would actually be able to save, how do we target them. And then they actually did test and learn, where they did multivariate testing of different ways of showing the visuals for the rapport with the rep. And that was also managed using some very simple but basic AI capabilities. All of those are available now at scale. So this was like 5 years ago. Now, the tools that a lot of those were hand built and gotten from startups, now they're much more broadly available. So AI is a key enabler in ways you wouldn't think of.
Wow, that's interesting. And a company like that has really put it together end to end. In a lot of my experience, we're a digital marketing agency. We're working with mid-sized companies, and they're still in the mode where they're producing website content, about their products and services. They're producing maybe a blog on different whole bunch of random topics, couple of months. They're doing a bunch of like social media posts on things that are related, maybe not. And it's really like a content marketing stream um, out there, right? So, and I'm thinking about maybe a B2B company example. So, how is AI going to help those kind of organizations that are doing more traditional marketing? They're putting out content for trade shows, they're putting out content for sales reps, they're putting out content on their website. How is AI going to upend that whole process and help move them into the personalized age with better content, better experiences that are more tailored to individual customers? Because I see a lot of companies still putting out content and information at the not even the persona level, that would be radical, but at the market size level, right? So it's a big shift you're talking about.
Yeah, so let's just think about a simple cycle. So one thing is AI could help if you've got basic ideas for the kinds of content you want to create. AI can help you generate a lot of that content now, but you can also tell it create different variations. So create a variation that's more in tune with this particular vertical or this particular mindset that's more focused on cost than on value,
Hmm.
and have it create a bunch of different ones, get it out there, then start seeing who's clicking and coming all the way to your site, and then start doing testing of different landing pages, again, AI enabled, to see what kind of landing content starts matching what people were clicking on. So positioning more of the description of your product or service based on the nature of the content that was out there, and keep testing and using the AI to generate more content, do more testing, get more granular data, and then start to say, okay, the people who are coming in, what can I learn about them? Can I get overlay data, firmographics? Can I buy data, Zoom info, Dun and Bradstreet, other data? Can I also look at things like what time of day did somebody look at this? Can I do a reverse domain lookup? There's just a lot of micro data, and there are tools now to do this. I mean, Adobe's building a lot of these capabilities into Sitecore. These companies are building a lot of the HubSpot are doing so, but people don't use them. They don't think about them. They're just getting their stuff out, and they're not thinking deliberately. We want to unlock the use of these capabilities, change the way we operate to take advantage of those. But I do a lot of work as well with mid-sized companies, and I often find they've got capabilities, and all those companies are smart. They're putting AI into it, but you have to change the way you operate in order to really take advantage of it.
Yeah, so let's explore that a little bit because talked about these amazing capabilities, right? And the economics are there's a huge breakthrough in the economics, right? So it's so much less expensive to create this content, and we can create two orders of magnitude more, right, for the same price.
Mhm.
Maybe the cost is going down. Could be conservative by like 90 or 99% or something to create all this content, right? So you have this capability, but as you said, a lot of companies are still stuck in the mindset. I've got a, I've got a website. I've got a page for each product. I've got a page for each service. I've got a blog. I'm kind of getting all this stuff out there. What is it that's going to help move them into this mode of mass personalization, as you talked about, to create content for a market segment of one all the way down? So how do you kind of shift the paradigm of senior executives and marketers to do that? By the way, one thought on that is I feel like the people that do that most naturally in a company are salespeople. I feel like salespeople naturally good ones, right, can ask questions and figure out what content they need, and then
Yep.
they target, right? But marketing, we don't always think that way. We think about like content for everybody. So anyway, what is the breakthrough that's going to happen to help people kind of get there to start thinking about this personalization opportunity?
Yeah, most of the time it starts when companies are thinking about verticals. So if you're a B2B, you start to think from it, you start with segments. Before you get to segment of one, you start with segments.
Mm-hmm.
And you start chopping things up and saying, how can I redefine segments? Is it verticals? Is it mindset of the buyer?
Mm.
And often that can come from a research study, it could come from feedback from sales. But often as marketers start hitting the wall, and many of them do, where every year their budget that's coming down is not going up, but their target is. And so, how do I get more juice for the dollar? Is it just simply buying more efficiently? Maybe, but even that, there's only so much to squeeze. You've got to start thinking more scientifically, and in a more varied way. And segmentation is, one of the most fundamental concepts in marketing. So the question is, getting that going and making that a very explicit part of how you operate, but then testing and getting more granular and having a mindset that we're going to try 5 different versions. Then what's going to actually happen is you shouldn't just simply say which of the 5 versions is best. It's each of the 5 attracted different kinds of people.
Mm.
And so it's the best for those people. It's not average. So what you want to do is ride the demand curve, not just focus on the average and say what's best, but say this one worked well for those kinds of people. This one worked well for those. Okay, so now we're starting to splinter things more. And again, the systems that are out there from a digital marketing standpoint can handle this,
Mm.
if you're directing it. But it is taking a mindset that it's not, you can't operate in averages. And so a marketer's got to start thinking more in terms of different segments. And many of the segments you won't be able to define because you don't know what they are. So it could be a combination of a vertical and a mindset, and all of that is part of the challenge. And until you test, you won't know. And then as you test and you put content, you start to see who is actually responding. And the big, like Google, Meta, I mean, they've built this into a lot of their capabilities and what they're offering. Uh, but you've got to apply it more broadly to your system, and you've got to just make it a part of your philosophy.
Yeah. So you can rely on, maybe if you're doing Google ads, you can rely on the Google AI algorithm to do a lot of this for you. But strategically, you've got to think about it for your whole company. So it strikes me, what you're saying is you've got to really understand your customer, right? And the segments and the strategies to reach those folks. You've got to understand the content that they need across the buying cycle by industry, all of that. And then you've got to connect that to the data about the customer, right? So that you can present that. I mean, it feels like you could almost, there's a proactive way you could like say, I know who you are, so I'm going to give you this because I know you want it. Or you could all do the inbound way of saying, we're going to make this available and easy to find and easy to get to, which is not always the case, and then let people find that content that they need. But it strikes me that we're going to be creating an exponentially larger amount of content, or we should, for all of these micro segments so people really get what they want, right?
And that, so there's two ways of looking at that. One is if we use it appropriately for personalization, then the AI is doing its job and people are getting the right thing. If we use it to just create more crap that we're just flinging at the same people, it's just more and more content, it's gonna backfire. So there was a study done by the Boston Consulting Group about people's receptivity to companies using data about them and trying to personalize.
Mm.
And what was interesting was 70% of people say they are totally willing to work with brands and give more business to brands that use information. Interestingly, 70% also said, may not have been the same 70%, by the way, that they have unsubscribed and stopped doing business with companies who they felt were trying to manipulate them, send spam to them, use their information inappropriately.
Mm.
So I think, and I see this in my own behavior, I'm unsubscribing way more aggressively now to stuff that's just spam, just hitting me way too much. I recently moved and I was Home Depot was just, oh my God, the avalanche I got. They found out that I moved and I was ready to just stop it. And then they asked me, though, what's your next project? And I said, kitchen renovation. And when I did that, all of a sudden they actually got their act together and it was focused on that. There was much more relevance. They should have asked me that maybe a bit earlier, but it made a difference. And that's the kind of thinking you need to have.
Yeah. So when you have a relationship with a brand that's you're already engaged with, like a Home Depot, that you can give them some information and you can interact when those other B2B tech companies maybe are bombarding their prospects and they are trying to break through. Maybe it's a little bit harder. They've got to try different things. But it strikes me that I totally understand what you're saying about the creepiness of the personalization. And as soon as somebody comes back to me and says, "I saw that you clicked on my email, and I
Yeah,
noticed that you went to this web page and you did this," I'm like, "Don't talk to me anymore," right? Just. And I think that
right.
maybe part of it is we all want to feel like we're in control of the experience. But I think when I go to a website and I just happen to notice that it's tailored to me, that's when it kind of gets my attention, and it's easy to find that kind of content. So it's going to be amazing. You're doing a lot of important work and research in this area, and your book is going to be powerful and make a big impact. If people want to connect with you, learn more about your book, and maybe engage with you in a conversation about this, what's the best way to reach you?
Yeah, sure. So there is a website for the book called personalizedthebook.com. So you can go to the website. Also, it's available for pre-order on Amazon. So just look it up on Amazon. You can pre-order. It's coming out October 15th. But through the website, you can communicate also with Mark Abraham, my co-author, who runs BCG's marketing practice, and myself.
That's awesome. Hey, before I let you go, I know we're just out of time here. What was your biggest aha in the book? What was the thing that you just said when you're doing the research and in the writing? What was the thing that you just felt like, wow, this is
Yeah.
super cool?
The biggest aha was when we were doing the research on companies who were doing full-blown personalization. There's examples in the book from Fidelity, Cisco, even smaller companies like Sweetgreen, the restaurant chain. It was never just a marketing thing.
Mm.
It all the time, it was from the top. You know, Howard Schultz from Starbucks saying, this is part of our corporate strategy
Mm.
is personalization. So it takes the whole C-suite. And so we added a chapter in the book explicitly going around the C-suite, the CEO, the CFO, the general counsel, head of HR, head of operations, not just marketing. How do they all contribute? How are their roles affected by a strategy to move towards personalization? Because that was the case in the companies that were leaders. So that was a big eye opener, and that helped us just in terms of writing the whole book, realizing that it's a general business strategy issue, not just a marketing issue.
Yeah, that's powerful. Yeah, there are definitely marketing implications, but I can definitely see that. So, wow, David, thank you very much for being on the show today. I really appreciate you taking the time, and I'm looking forward to reading the book. Thank you again for being here.
My pleasure, David. Thank you.